difference between Two Oceans Vibe Radio and those other stations? Well, it's quite obvious, isn't it? You're here, not there. Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Tune into the holiday. Tune into the holiday.
That's right. This is Two Oceans Vibe Radio. Tune into the holiday. I'm Zaid, Kriel. You are listening to The Kwai Show. That was Kanye West with All of the Lights. Just a song that I like for whatever reason. You know, Kanye is infectious. You know, you just have to feel his genius and all that kind of stuff. As I said before listening to the man himself, I'm joined this evening by Matt Martin from at VG247. One of the best news sources. If you're looking for 24-hour video game news, that is probably the place you need to get that Twitter feed. You need to get onto that website. You need to get the unofficial Android app. They'll keep you up to date with what you need to know. And of course, I'm also joined by Rami Ismail, who is one of the co-founders of the independent game studio Vlambeer, or possibly Vlambeer. I'll ask him how that's pronounced. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today here on the Kwai Show. How's it? How are you guys doing?
Oh, good, thanks.
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Vlambeer is quite fine, though. That's perfect.
Yeah, is it? But you know, because I know you're Dutch, and we speak Afrikaans in South Africa, which is derived from Dutch. And I've always wondered about the name. So is it originally Vlambeer?
Yeah, Vlambeer.
Vlambeer.
That's the Dutch name, but everybody that speaks English says Vlambeer.
Yeah.
It was actually something we considered when we were coming up with the name, because it's a pun, right? Like, it's Vlambeer means flame bear, and the logo is a bear on fire.
Yeah.
I mean, in South Africa, you probably understood that. The rest of the world is completely oblivious as to what the flame and the thing is.
Yeah, no, I got that immediately. I just thought I'd clear that up, educate the people, so to speak. I'm sure Matt didn't know that.
I feel educated now already. Working on this show just for that, I feel better.
Already, like your intelligence just +1 at that particular moment. Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. I know, Matt. I think you're back from holidays already.
Yes.
In Rami, I'm not sure. Where are you at the moment? Are you in?
I'm having a holiday, so I'm not traveling at the moment.
Yeah, which is something that you do quite often.
I actually made a visualization the other day, and apparently I've done 100 flights last year, and I've been home for less than 40 days.
Okay. Some people enjoy that.
That's 2014.
Yeah, I wouldn't have anticipated that an independent video game developer would spend more time flying than independently developing. But there we go.
Neither did I. Although I have to admit, like, airplanes end up being a really good place to work if you have noise cancelling headphones, because there is zero distraction up there.
I suppose there's a silver lining everywhere. But gentlemen, of course, the reason we're here is to look back at the year 2014, which I think. Most of us will agree was quite a momentous year in gaming, even though a lot of people said that the actual game output was quite low. We didn't see that many games put out in 2014, but the year itself, quite monumentous for maybe not so good reasons. So that was the year 2014, and of course, once we've ruminated on that a bit, we'll talk about our predictions for 2015. And as I said before the break, I'm hoping for a less controversial year and a year that will be remembered for the games we actually played, and not so much for how they affected society. Matt, you basically spend your life reporting the news on video games, and it's right there in the title of the website, VG247. I think you'll agree with me. The number one news story for 2014, without a doubt, Gamergate.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's quite depressing that was the number one story. But it kind of overshadowed everything else, right? It overshadowed all the good games that came out and everything else that kind of happened, which is a little bit depressing. But it's the issues that surround Gamergate need to be discussed. So it's got to be discussed.
Rami, I don't know, like from obviously people like us in the game journalism sphere, obviously we were very much affected by it because it touches on our profession in many ways, and of course we had to report on it as well. But from your side of the woods, your neck of the woods, as a developer, did it have any impact on you?
Oh yeah, tremendously. Gamergate is not as much something that affects just journalists or just developers. It kind of affected everybody in the games sphere, whether it's journalists or developers. I got threats. I've dealt with quite a bunch of stuff. I've seen friends of mine get harassed all the time. A lot of developers are under fire by the movement. It's a scary thing. Like it's sort of terrifying, but it's also, if you look at it, it's scary how clear it was that something was brewing and how late the industry caught on to the fact that something was terribly, terribly wrong. And I just think that this is the sheer skill and anger and hatred that was attached to it would just sort of took me by surprise, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think all the trouble started in August, but I'm sure the three of us can all agree that the issues that Gamergate brought up aren't exactly new. I can recall stories as when EGM was still a print publication. When EGM was still a print publication, people saying that journalists were getting brown envelopes to wax positive about X game or whatever. So these aren't actually new issues. And then, of course, issues of sexism in gaming. If you look at some of the ads from the 90s and so on, there was that undercurrent of sexism, and perhaps there was a point to Gamergate, but it's not a new thing.
Here's the thing. I think the big issue that Gamergate has shown us is actually a bit more subtle than that. Like, what we're talking about is a group of people that derive their entire identity from consuming video games, from buying and playing video games, and for being the main market for those video games. Like, they have always been what games have been about and who games have been for. And as technology allowed people to make more games, people started to make different games, right? Not just for that audience, but for an increasing audience, for an increasing that is more diverse, that is more rich in cultural views. And I think for a lot of people, that means their identity as a gamer is being threatened. It's also why you see a lot of Gamergate talking about, like, well, those are not real gamers, right? Like, well, for me, anybody that plays a video game is a gamer if they want to be a gamer, as far as I'm concerned, right? But I think what ended up happening is the people that are in Gamergate are disenfranchised, right? They're angry. They feel betrayed by their press because they feel that's their press. They feel betrayed by their developers because they feel it's their developers. Well, the reality is that the games industry is broadening, is enriching. It's becoming more than what it was before. And I hope we can all agree that's a positive thing. It's just that I think a lot of people are scared. They're just scared of their identity. And I have to admit, I can sort of identify with that fear. If this happened like 10 years ago, when I was younger, I might have been a Gamergater. Like, it's terrifying, but it makes kind of sense, right?
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. It is the kind of the fear of things changing. And, I can't. Yeah, you're completely right. If you play a game, then you're a gamer, and to these issues that just need to be brought up and discussed openly. And I don't know. I think it's just so sad that it's been so badly. It's just happened so in such an awful manner. It's unfolded so badly with with such abuse and aggression towards everyone, and it's just became this huge shouting match of abuse, and it's just really unpleasant. But you don't resolve things unless I guess you need to get through the conflict in order to resolve it. I guess I don't know if there'll be a resolution to it. I think there'll always be a vocal minority of people screaming about don't change our games, don't put this in our games. But the reality is that the developer chooses what goes in the game, and quite rightly.
That's actually one of the things that always sort of surprised me about Gamergate is that they seem to, at some point they got so focused on the press, right? Because they're like, well, the press caused this. And it's strange to me because I've always seen the games industry as an industry that makes games, and the press as something that reports on the games industry.
Yeah, totally. So the industries, the journalism and the media, it should be separate from the games industry.
That's one of the main
But
points.
It's interesting because it makes me feel like what people are really upset about is the types of games that are being made and not the journalists. But I think they can't believe that the press is writing these things because they can't believe the games industry has changed that much.
Maybe.
Because I think the press is just reporting, right? That's what you guys do.
Yeah, that's what we try to do in opinion. That's interesting what you said about, that if there was a flaw in that, they should have been going after the publishers more. It's one of the points that Jim Sterling made in a few of his videos, that you may be attacking the wrong enemy here. But if Gamergate was the biggest story, then surely everything Ubisoft was the second biggest story.